Factory to Farm is the business proposal that I have created for MBA 699 Business in Vietnam. My name is Stephanie Millette, and I am seeking a Master's in Administration from the University of Southern Maine. So the basic features of the Factory to Farm business will be to collect compost or food waste from an industrial park kitchen, bring it to composting facility, and then when the compost has been created, to bring the compost to a local farm. In Asia and Pacific annually, 70 to 100 million metric tons of carbon are released into the atmosphere every year, and food consumption has been increasing 5% per year since 2011 and is projected to stay the same through 2016. At the Framework Convention on Global Change held by the UN, the Vietnamese government said that greenhouse gas emission from waste has increased 4 times since 1994, and that they don't see any sign of it decreasing. In fact, it is increasing rapidly. 71% of food waste, or all waste, is gathered in urban areas, and 60% of that waste is food. One of the main places that people eat is work. So one of the places that I want to target for composting is where people work. At the same time, there are farmers in Vietnam whose costs aren't being covered when it comes to artificial fertilizer. It's expensive, it doesn't supplement the land, and it does not help in the long term. So there's a need for compost in Ho Chi Minh. In fact, according to the UN's environmental technical publication on municipal soil waste management, there are farmers who mine the dump sites for compost with Ho Chi Minh's permission. So my company, Factory to Farm, would pick up food waste from cafeterias and kitchens in the Linh Truan ward of District 5. We would bring food waste to containment area where it would be mixed with carbon, which in fact could be cotton fibers if that was deemed appropriate by Viet-Tech, but could also be either blown in carbon or dried cocoa or a natural product from the local farm. We would bring the compost that we create to the local cocoa farms or other farms, and they could use that to restore the nutrients that have been lost due to artificial fertilizers for the past few years. It also restores the ability of the soil to retain water, which is necessary for these farms to be sustainable economically in the long term. The tighter the circuit for compost, the more likely it can be called organic in the future. And also, we don't just want it to be called organic, we want it to be healthier. And so if you put the factory and the facility and the farms all within the same amount of space or just close proximity, you decrease the amount of time and exposure that they have on the road to dangerous air toxins. So potential consumers include Viet-Tech and others who interact with American and European partners, as those cultures appreciate green, and they also appreciate the marketable aspects of being associated with a textile factory that takes tangible steps to counter environmental impact, and because of the opportunity to be seen as forward-thinking and progressive due to these associations. So, why you should compost in District 5 or an industrial area is multiple reasons. The efficiency of fewer locations allows for less labor and less time. The infrastructure is simplified when you work with a company that has many bins and a lot of food base versus many different households or smaller businesses and restaurants. There's no known competitors with this client in mind that I was able to find, with many competitors looking to work with hotels, restaurants, or households. And plus, there are marketing advantages. You can build longer and better sustained relationships with each partner if there are fewer of them. And you can also spread the word to your kitchens with more effectiveness if you're able to go in there and make presentations face to face, know their head chef and their housekeeping people and all of their operations directors by name, which is significant in making sure that you're teaching a new program and getting only food waste into the bins, because that's a challenge for any composter. District 5 is particularly attractive to me, not only because we toured it, but also because it has Helvetis cocoa inside of it, who are trying to become more and more sustainable and encouraging its farmers to use organic versus artificial fertilizers and composting. And they haven't, they're not able to completely do this because they don't have enough compost or enough rich sustainable products. So we would be able to meet that for them and decrease their reliability on artificial fertilizer. The way the money is made is we would collect the fee from the industrial park, and we would become a carbon credit seller to industrial partners in the area who are not, either they don't produce food waste or they don't have any kind of sustainability program in mind, but Vietnam is starting to strongly encourage and enforce carbon and sustainable laws, so we might be able to provide a carbon credit to them. We could collect a fee for compost delivery, and then we would also collect or request incentives from the local government pursuant to their commitments and decrees, which I'll itemize later on. Scalability would be we could actually increase the number of products or services that we're providing. Plastic is the way of the future when it comes to yarn. A lot of the clothing that we wear in the U.S. is now actually made with a mixed polyester that's taken from recyclable plastic, but it isn't an industry that Vietnam has entered yet. The industry is mostly in southeastern United States, Italy, and Sweden. But I believe that Vietnam will soon be following the footsteps of Max Mara and Giorgio Armani, and we'll start partnering with Saluzzo Yarns, New Life Yarns, and Earthspun Yarns, and either trying to compete with them or work with their product because it's better for the environment and it's also much easier and more common to get than cotton. So if the supply for compost was great and the system works out well, we could also expand this model to other industrial park areas. We probably wouldn't be able to really reuse any of our resources other than personnel and marketing, because the beauty in a composting system is that it is tight. So like I said before, to keep that compost pure, you need the circuit to be very close. So we would want a separate composting facility if we were to work with a farm or industrial partner that was far away from our original headquarters. Potential partners include organic farms that are already in Vietnam, composters that have been successful in Portland, Maine that are easy for me to access. I actually reached out to both of them for help with this project. Viet Tang as a potential, even if they're not willing to partner, they could always provide advice on folks who would. Helvetis, because of the cocoa farms that they own and because of the need that they have already expressed for compost. And the Vietnam Urban Environment and Industrial Zone Association, who could tell us how to access some of the incentives that the government is offering. So when to start hauling grass is now, because the political climate is great. And so some of those decisions that I was talking about before are Decision 2139 from the Prime Minister in 2011, which supports technology that cuts down on solid waste and provides incentives for those who do so. 1775 allows for carbon credit sales. 155 and 199 respectively in 2012 specified industrial zones as some of the most urgent zones to focus on when doing an incentive program. So this is a great time for us. But there are some challenges, primarily the main challenges, which are all of the geographic challenges of having an idea for a business that's across the globe. But there are others as well. Lemna is a large company that built a $53 million plant in Cu Chi that already works in Saigon, so they're kind of a looming competitor. Educating the public on how to separate is always an issue, which is one of the reasons that I want to work in contained environments, like the employer of all of the employees. It kind of enforces that the separation is needed if your employer is watching you do it and asking you to do it. So the financial plan for us, revenue would come from incentives, fees, and sales, and expenses would include equipment, salaries, legal fees, land, advertising and promotion, utilities, and total expenses. There would be many other smaller expenses, but these are the big ones. The salary I got from an official report from 2 organic farms. Both are paying their employees about $150 million annually. Million dong annually, so which is only $6,750 a person. And then also I know, but didn't add that here, that composting farms or composting groups get a discount rate of 12%, and that anyone who owns equipment in Vietnam is getting a straight line depreciation of about 6.6% applied to that. Our marketing plan is to lay in collateral and digital things into presentations for management so that they can spread the word to their employees. Cafeteria buy-in versus collateral packaging and product sampling, as well as face-to-face meetings with all of their head honchos. The application for industry and country recognition within Vietnam. There are awards out there. We would just need to get them for both ourselves as well as our partners to keep the partners enthusiastic. And packaging. So it would need to be biodegradable, and it would also be great if we had a competition among the employees who are the ones doing all the work of those companies, and to have one of them, kind of design the logo and get them involved right from the get-go. A milestone that I would consider significant is if we could someday become certified organic. One of the companies that certifies organic farms is VietGap, but they are also researching certifying composting facilities, so someday that might be possible. In closing, what this will do, not only for that area and for us as a moneymaker, but also for the country of Vietnam, is it will address a more overall challenge that Vietnam faces in terms of its public participation and education. By educating people where they work about composting, they can see that it's easy, they can see the advantages, and perhaps bring it home so that composting becomes more mainstream. Thank you very much.